Hey folks, so today I want to talk to you about diversification and what it means in the garden and why I think it's actually pretty important for even a small scale backyard grower to sort of embrace the concept. So here in North Carolina, we're in about what I would probably safely consider, based upon the news that I see, about a 50-year drought. From October to now. We have gotten less water, the least amount of water we've had since 1970, I think I saw it. Yeah, it's pretty brutal out here right now. And we're finishing a stretch of 5 days in the mid 90s, no rain. Rain's supposed to start tonight for the next 7 days along with the temperature drop, but they're already starting to forecast the estimates about how much we're gonna get downwards. But I think at this point, it's like a desert out here, so I think I'll just take whatever I can get. Obviously, I'm hand watering as much as I feel comfortable doing so, being that we're pulling water for the garden from our house well. And can't really reprioritize that aggressively the water that we drink and shower with, so the garden kind of comes second to that. But getting back on topic, diversity in the garden within a certain group of crops. And let me show you what I'm talking about. These two beds here were originally established to be sort of my greens beds, cruciferous, brassicas. Those lettuces actually came from the ground somewhere over here. You can see I have a little bit of pathway lettuce there. They were small, they were too cramped to somebody else, so I pulled them out of the ground, transplanted them there. They're holding up okay. They're gonna probably bolt soon. But what you're gonna see is, because of the heat, because of the lack of moisture, if you see the way the mustards are growing, you see how they're really kind of tight up and coned, kind of holding in. The plant's doing that, if I'm not mistaken, because it's trying to hold on to as much water as possible. Now, other thing to note is that all of my mustard of Cherokee Blue has bolted. That started bolting a month ago. The up and down weather we had, the late frost, the heavy freezes, followed by the heat waves, which we had multiples of those sort of swings, those plants just gave up. The green wave is following suit very quickly. Green wave being this frilly. They start getting really gray in color and they're done. They're all going to throw up within the next couple of days, and that's going to cost me basically a month's worth of greens on that. My red Russian kale is very slow to bolt. Right now it looks terrible simply because it's wilting under the heat of the day right now, but by tomorrow morning it's going to be right back in form. I can still pull off that one just fine. They typically do not bolt on me. The only challenge that I have with them is, as the harlequin beetle kind of makes itself known, as the last brassica standing, boom, it's going to get lit up and eaten down really aggressively, pretty much inedible by the end of June. With the exception of the lettuce, everything there was in the brassica family, so they're all going to follow suit. However, what we also have going right now is Swiss chard. Now, again, wilting under the pain of the heat right now are some of them. Some of them are holding up okay. I wouldn't harvest this time of day. I'll harvest tomorrow morning if I was going to harvest at all, but the leaves are looking really good. They get hit by a little bit of a different pest pressure. They're very, very slow to bolt. I didn't lose any to bolting last year, so I'm really pleased with the fact that this offers me a green when the cruciferous vegetables are giving up to the stress of the season or age into the bolting phase. Swiss chard holds its own. Now, if you really were getting kind of bummed out about losing your mustard or any other brassica that seems to be throwing, let me show you one other section. This is my turnip patch. Turnip greens are certainly edible. This is also in the brassica family. It's a double duty crop, being that you get the root and the shoot. And this is the first time in spring I think I've grown turnips. I grew them in the fall for the last fall for the first time. And so far they seem to be more bolt resistant than the mustard. So again, this offers me some more cruciferous, which keeps me from having to hit my Swiss chard really hard right now, because I do have this one that holds up, at least for now. Now, if this starts giving up, that's when I'm going to start hitting the Swiss chard. And one final green that I don't have in the garden at the moment, because they are kind of getting ready to go in the garden within the next few weeks, are sweet potatoes, because sweet potato leaves are edible. It's part of the morning glory family. Not really well known here in the States that you can eat those leaves. A few of us know that, and more often than not, I think people don't know that. But if someone were so inclined, they could plant a dedicated bed of sweet potatoes simply to harvest greens off of. Yes, it's probably gonna, if you really harvest hard the leaves, it's gonna impact the growth of the tubers most likely because less photosynthesis, less root growth. However, a dedicated bed to the leaves will still yield sweet potatoes, but it's gonna give you a full season during that really hot month when the Swiss chard might be getting beaten by pests a little bit and the cruciferous already gave up. You'll still have your sweet potato leaves. So that's my little spiel on diversification. Again, you might not have the room to diversify too heavily, but if you can at least maintain a couple different families of crops within sort of the same purpose of eating. So for example, leafy greens, you're gonna put yourself in a position so that if one, you have an absolute failure on one, you might not have one on the other, and therefore you're getting something. But two, even if neither one outright fails, if one does have a different timeline for it, or it's a little more stressed like my brassicas are right now, you can always have someone, pulling up the rest of it for you. And that's kind of how I have myself set up. Not set up deliberately that way, but it is the way it's working out. So I need to keep this in my head going forward. So I hope you learned a little bit something today. And if you like what you saw, please feel free to give the video a like. And if you want to chat about this further, please feel free to post below. If you know of any greens that are great in the summertime that work in your climate and think you might work in mine, I'm zone 8A. Oh, feel free to post below. I'd love to hear more about it. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Take care.